Hello everyone, Namaste, welcome, Suswagatam, Jai Hind. Welcome to our episode number 132 of Expert Talk Live Show. I'm thrilled to have you all join us tonight for a deep dive into one of the most dynamic and exciting area of investment in the startup ecosystem. Friends, startup are where all the cool innovations happens, right? They are driving the future, pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and shaking up industries. But let's be real, investing in startups isn't just about jumping on the next big thing. It's about making smart, informed decisions in a space that's full of both incredible potentials and serious risk as well. And we have Nikhil Gupta as our expert of the day to walk through light to on this interesting topic. So let's welcome our expert of the day, Nikhil, on the show now. Hey Nikhil, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much, Vipul ji. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, and we are thankful to you for accepting our invitation and joining us on this expert talk show. And let's hope ki we will have amazing discussions on this show, and we will have a great session. We will be privileged to have your industry expertise on this show. So friends, I'm your host for the day, Vipul M. Mali, founder of Post Resume HR Consultancy. We provide recruitment services across India and Africa, particularly for middle to senior management positions in IT, engineering, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and textile industry. Additionally, we offer assistance to job seekers through resume writing, LinkedIn profile optimization, and career coaching. We believe that sharing is caring, and purpose of this expert talk show is to bring in industry experts like Nikhil has joined us today, to who will join us on this live show to share their industry experience and their expertise with all of us to help us with career insights and to grow professionally as well as personally. So do check Nikhil's LinkedIn profile. You can follow him. You can connect with him afterwards for this, for any further guidance, any help. He'll be happy to help you. And do subscribe our YouTube channel as well. And you can check all the expert talk sessions we had before. So do check on YouTube, Vipul the Wonderful, and press the bell icon to get our regular live updates. Friends, Nikhil Gupta is an accomplished investor with a strong focus on alternative investments, startup growth accelerations, and with extensive experience as a multiple asset manager and trust manager. He has a proven track record of driving successful investments across diverse portfolios. Uh, he is also a podcast speaker and a trusted advisor. Nikhil combines his financial acumen with a passion of mentoring and supporting emerging ventures, and he is recognized for his strategic insights and commitment to fostering innovation and growth in the investment landscape. So please feel free to engage and ask questions during this session. This is an interactive event, and we want you to make sure you get the most out of it. So do ask your questions in the chat box, and do type in your motivational comments also, which will help us to make this event more and more interactive. So let's get started. It's time to talk investments in the startup ecosystem, and please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, Nikhil Gupta. So over to you, Nikhil. Please tell us something more about you to begin with, to start the session, before we jump into the questions and answers.
Perfect. First of all, thank you so much, Vipul ji, for having me on your channel. It's indeed a pleasure to sit alongside with you and to discuss the various areas that we would want to cover in the startup ecosystem or the alternate space. And another vote of thanks I would want to give you for your very, very kind words that you have used as a part of my introduction. I would still want to support that by saying that though it's been a while that I've been in the ecosystem, but for me and for everybody at my company at Marwari Catalyst, we continue learning, we continue practicing, we continue kind of trying to gather those brownie points and those whatever acknowledgements we can, right? So in the practice or whilst doing that, definitely we land up working very closely with startup company because that's a core strength, and that's a core positioning, right? Just to talk a little about myself, I come in with almost about 25, 26 years of experience in the financial industry, banking and financial industry. Started my career with core banking, wealth management and core banking, custody services. Spent almost half part of my career, almost about 12, 13 years on that side of it. And since then, I've moved to corporate finance, whereby I've been a part of a couple of angel networks. I've been a part of an angel fund, and now at Marwari Catalyst. Academically, I'm a postgraduate in finance. I'm a Nasimunji alumni, and I'm also a certified and licensed fund manager. In fact, that pretty much brings me to my next role, or my parallel role at Marwari Catalyst. I started off with Marwari Catalyst as Director Strategy and Alliances, where I led strategy, collaborations, and engagements, both at principal level and the portfolio level. And now, since we have the fund on the floor with us, so I'm also the CEO and the fund manager on the fund. So that's been my journey. Pretty much started because of interest levels in the financial industry, in the financial space, and that's how I began my career. Coming from a very typical Marwari Agarwal family background, right? So was always of the opinion कि और कुछ नहीं करेंगे तो डैड का बिजनेस तो है वो कर लेंगे. And
So,
perspective with that perspective, I started my career. And now, after having spent 26, 27 years, now when I look back, it's I've been fortunate that I've been in this space and in this industry, and in my own possible way I try to add value, whatever little bit I've gathered and whatever I've understood over a period of time. That's how we try to add value back to the ecosystem, and that's exactly the kind of a role that I play at Marwari Catalyst also.
so that's amazing. You rightly said. You know that it's been said that generally Gujaratis and Marwaris, their business is there in their blood. You know, nothing bias or nothing bias opinion, but it's been said and it's been proven. So you are giving your expertise. You are sharing your expertise with everyone else. So that's amazing. So to begin with the very first question, how do you think startup investments are a blessing or just a hype?
So I'll answer that question by taking a little bit of a pushback, Vipulji, right? So what we have actually observed, or rather, I should be saying, what Indian startup ecosystem has actually observed and experienced since the past couple of years is always kind of a graduation level that we've reached today, vis-a-vis what we were a couple of years back, right? Definitely, alternate investments or the startup ecosystem is now the talk of the day with everybody. Everybody wants to become a part of it. Gone are those days when it was limited only to a selected few people, only to the affluent high, or maybe only to the HNIs and the UHNIs to look at this as an investment asset class. Today, even a retail investor wants to be a part of the alternate investment space. So definitely, we have grown from where we were 5 years back, 10 years back. We are all the more mature today. We are all the more regulated today, and thankfully, we have a tremendous amount of support given by the government. And we've just seen that in the recent budget also, in terms of what kind of incentive plans and what kind of financial benefits the Indian ministry is wanting to kind of roll out and encourage innovative ideas coming in from India. So definitely, and I will not say this only because I'm a part of the startup ecosystem or I'm a part of an accelerator, but otherwise also a general observation has been that the startup ecosystem is grown, and definitely it's a blessing. It's a blessing not just from investment perspective, but the entire dynamics of the economy is also changing, all thanks to newer innovative ideas coming up and new innovations coming up and new startup ecosystem kind of mushrooming. So for me, definitely it's a blessing. And I mean, of course, I can go endlessly talking about it, but I would definitely encourage everybody to be a part of the startup ecosystem.
So the positive government strategies and the ecosystem is supporting the startup era, and with the technology is also pushing it further in a positive direction. So that's rightly said. So is India prepared to encourage startup investments?
India is moving so swiftly that I will not be surprised if India kind of overtakes some of the newer generation or the larger economies of the world and pose or position themselves as among the top three or the top five global players in the startup ecosystem. And as a first move in that direction, we have already overtaken some of the very strong economies of the world when it comes to the startup ecosystem. In fact, let me give you some numbers over here also. When we're talking of, say, Asia Pacific also, within Asia Pacific also among the top three players, it is not Hong Kong or a Singapore, for that matter. It is definitely China and India that is actually positioning themselves as among the top players, and we are working very closely on lines with global competitors like maybe in Israel or maybe the Silicon Bay Area or the Silicon Valley. So definitely India is prepared. Like I said earlier, India is also prepared because our entire the kind of government support that we are getting, it definitely encourages the entire startup ecosystem. So India is prepared, and we will only improvise further from here.
Yeah, so well answered. And as I promised, we'll also cover the live audience questions in between. So the first question is from uh, Raj Murray, who is asking that when it comes for team building as a pre-revenue startup, what strategies which we must follow?
So, Raj, my sincere answer over here would be that when it comes to team building is not just limited to an idea stage or a pre-incubation stage or maybe an early revenue stage. Team building is an activity which will continue throughout the entire life cycle of that particular startup. Yes, I'll agree also to the fact that it kind of becomes a little challenging from the perspective that team building, when it comes to adding additional cost, it is a question to be answered. It is something which needs to be looked at very closely. But I will suggest that at least for the initial few years time, one should, or a startup should definitely look at, in the best possible way, look at outsource activities and try to maintain a lean team structure. And the moment that there is some growth coming in, some scalability that has come in, that's the time when actually you could look at building up your teams also. And of course, I'm assuming that over a period of this session we are also going to talk about the different genres of participants in the ecosystem. But just to, since you brought this out, both at the incubation stage and the accelerator stage, there's a lot of support which is provided from both these categories of market players. So you need not really have to elaborate a team structure. You can maybe off shoulder some of the responsibility to the concerned incubator and the accelerator, and only maintain the basic requirement at your end. And once you've shown some numbers, once you've shown some traction, maybe then that is the time when you should actually look at adding more team members to your team.
Yeah, yeah. Hope Raj, you've got the answer, and acknowledge it if you got the answer. And yeah, so moving on to the next question: do startups really get funded by retail participants, or is it only for HNIs and ultra HNIs and institutions?
So, Vipulji, like I said earlier, the good part is that today everybody is wanting to participate in the alternate space or in the startup ecosystem, right? Uh, and quickly, if I could also add to that, the fact that because we've got different categories of investors or different genres of investors who have their own appetites and who have their own kind of segments that they would want to look at, there are enough and more takers, enough and more investors across different stages of a startup a startup. And it begins right from an idea stage, whereby an incubator probably could get you some initial investments, if not investments, at least some bit of a government grants and subsidies from their end. And from there, when you actually graduate and move on to an accelerator, it is in at best interest for an accelerator to come in with some skin in the game, with some investments. That is truly how an accelerator is expected to play their role, or maybe deliver their KPIs. And following that, definitely there are larger boys in the game. There are angel networks, there are funds, micro funds. So the point that I'm trying to make over here is that across different stages of a startup player or a startup company, there are enough and more investors. So I don't think there is a challenge in terms of getting investors. I think the bigger challenge would be to get the right kind of investors. I think that is a prudent decision which any startup founder should be taking. But yes, an easy answer to your question is that there are enough and more investors out there who are hungry to look at new investment opportunities.
So the counter question to this is, even Ravi is also asking one question, which is for HNIs, NRIs. But my question is, how a retail investor can find an opportunity in startups. Is there any platform, or is can someone approach you, like, if I want to invest I have a fund, and if I want to invest some funds, then are there any sources for any retail participants?
So definitely, there are windows which are open for retail participants also. It and I could give you a couple of examples. So either the investors could look at coming in as angel investors. Now again, an angel investor could come in either by themselves, or maybe they can take help of some of the prevailing or the most promising angel networks which are available. Uh, Another thing which I could also quickly add over here is that once they invest through an angel network, I would suggest that they spend some time, and especially if they are mature investors or first-time investors, they should rely, or they should bank on the synergies and the expertise of the professionals which are there in the angel networks. And following that, then once they're good with it, once they have a decent bit of an understanding about the entire ecosystem, perhaps then they can look at participating. Of course, subject to their investment size, then they can look at participating across different categories of investors. It could be either by way of participating in funds, it could be by way of participating in a lot of other mid corporate investment opportunities which are there. And then it doesn't stop there then.
Agreed. And Ravi is asking that, how can NRIs become a part of the Indian startup ecosystem?
So, Ravi, thankfully, for NRIs to participate in the Indian startup ecosystem, Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is SEBI, our Indian regulator, has opened up avenues by way of the alternate investment funds. It will be at best for any NRI to participate in the fund, and the fund in turn could then invest in the startup ecosystem here in India. Again, there are two ways of looking at it. One, it could either be this would again be subject to your investment size, but it could perhaps be investing at the fund level, which is I can go a little in detail in saying that there are three categories which are actually mentioned by SEBI. The one that I'm referring to is category two, where it is a private equity space, and an investor can invest in a fund, and the fund in turn discretely can look at exposures in different startup companies. Alternatively, there is category one, which is a VC category, and within a VC category, it's for an early stage investment opportunity, and within that also there is another subcategory by the name of angel network. Now, when an investor, domestically as well as cross-border NRI investors or expats from there, they want to invest into the Indian startup ecosystem and they want to test run it, or they want to start small, my suggestion would be that they should kind of look at some angel fund which is there in India, invest in the angel fund, and then look at how things move about, or how things kind of mature from there, and then they can maybe deepen up their investment theses and investment size and stuff. But an angel network is an easier way to look at, or perhaps for any expat or any NRI to invest in India. It's a more regulated way, structured and regulated,
More regulated and more safe and legal way.
the legitimate way. Yes.
Legitimate, yeah, yeah. Ravi, hope you have got the answer. Please acknowledge if you got the answer. And moving on to the next question, what are the stages at which investors invest, and what are the different types of investors in the startup ecosystem?
So I'll take the second question first in terms of what are the different types of investors in the startup ecosystem. So an investor could be either the first time investor, which are angel investors, what we call as. Alternatively, or next to that, would be somebody participating, like I said earlier, somebody participating through an angel network. The difference between an angel investor and an angel network is that in scenario one, an angel investor is taking a direct exposure on the cap table of the investment of the investee company or the startup company. Whereas once they participate through an angel network, then it is not just they individually investing, but there are other members also from the network or from that particular fraternity who together then are looking at investments. In the second scenario, also when we're talking about investments through an angel network, lot of initial filtering, due diligence, and selection of investment opportunities is already done by the angel network. So, for a new investor, it makes sense to, rather than going all out and taking an exposure themselves directly, it makes sense to invest through an angel network because it's a little more refined, a little more tried and tested, and the basic research is already done over there. So these are two categories of investors for an early stage of investment opportunity. There could also be scenarios where a company which has slightly matured, slightly grown, and shown some early validation in the ecosystem, you could also participate through an accelerator. There are also mechanisms where you could in turn invest either in an accelerator or the investment opportunities which an accelerator has already handpicked. You could look at investing along with that accelerator in those, so something which you call as a co-investment model, which is for an accelerator. Following that would be a micro fund or a fund where you're looking at participating on in the fund, and the fund in turn then investing in the startup companies. So the moment you invest in a fund, what you are actually getting in return is units allotted by that particular fund. So you're not investing directly in the company; you're investing in the fund. You're a passive investor in the startup company. And and lastly, once the company goes public, it's listed on the stock exchange, then you are free to kind of buy and sell over the stock exchange. So then it's no longer an OTC product; it's an exchange traded product. Then it's an exchange traded investment opportunity. So these are broadly the different categories of investors which are available, and each of these categories are pegged to different stages of the startup company also. So just to reiterate again over here, for the early stage of investors, perhaps they would be looking at companies which are at an idea stage or maybe at a pre-revenue stage. Immediately moving from there would be validated by accelerators which are slightly more mature. And following that, then you would be participating into a fund which necessarily means calling for a lot of growth capital. So you're participating in the growth of that particular company, not in terms of getting the basics in place. So that's broadly the different categories of investors that are there in the ecosystem.
Well explained. And Nikhil Shah is appreciating. Nikhil ji, great insights. Thank you for sharing. Ravi and Raj is also happy with the answer. Thank you. And so, yes, the next question is India investment ready? And is it an investment destination for global players?
India is definitely investment ready, and globally, in fact, everybody is eyeing India to look at their investments. In fact, the kind of investment infusion that we've seen from cross-border regions in the last couple of years, and I'm not even talking of a pandemic or a pre-pandemic era. I'm unanimously over the last 5 years, 6 years time, the kind of FDI infusion, the kind of foreign investment that we've seen in the startup ecosystem or the MSME space or the alternate space has only increased. So which clearly signals the fact that India is more than prepared. And also one more reason why India is prepared is because India is all the more regulated today as compared to what we were maybe a couple of years back, right? Our regulator is playing a special role over here by encouraging the startup ecosystem, bringing in a lot of kind of support to them, creating a lot of awareness amongst investors, not just domestically but also cross-border. And simultaneously, government of India is supporting by allocating budgets to it, by allocating a lot of grants and subsidies, again to encourage the initial level or the idea stage companies. So with all of these efforts falling in line, definitely we are seeing an outburst over there, and there's a lot of traction that we're seeing from offshore regions. Also, one more point, if I could add over here, fortunately for us, in the past couple of years, the Make in India move has worked well for us. So some of the spaces that we're actually seeing, and especially when we're talking about manufacturing as a base, it's a global known phenomena that any country that is high on manufacturing is definitely kind of turning around their economy, and that's exactly the spot where India has been since the past couple of years. So with all of these efforts put together, there is a lot of traction that we're seeing from global participants. People are really looking forward to kind of investing in the Indian economy, and to begin with, definitely the startup ecosystem.
Yeah, very true. This is the next destination for anyone to invest, and we have grabbed the attention of the entire world. So that's
we
really
are we are otherwise we are otherwise also globally known to be very disciplined investors and caretakers of investments, right? So I think our trajectory has been such that people believe in us, expats and offshore investors believe in us. They know that we are very high on compliances, we are very high on corporate governance, and I think broadly these are the couple of two or three four points which any expat investor will want to look at. And fortunately, we've not had the need to put in any special efforts. This has been our history. This is historically how we've been good custodians of investors' money. So that's why the interest is definitely there.
so the trust factor and the culture of India is also one factor to consider on it. So you have been discussing about the angel investors and incubators and accelerators, and so what is the role of them, like what is the role of incubators and accelerators?
So before answering that question, Vipulji, I will want to bring out one point, and which I usually very frequently talk to startup companies when once we are screening them also, and otherwise also in open forums. I usually end up uh, giving this one point to regularly. In fact, is I will definitely encourage, and I will always want a good startup company or a good startup founder to go through the process. And I'm a firm believer of the fact that rather than skipping a step and trying to kind of get hold of shortcuts, it it makes a lot of sense to follow a process, to meet different milestones, and then scale up from there. So, and that all begins when the basics are required to be in place, and that's exactly the role. To answer your question, that's exactly the role what an incubator is expected to play. And I can give you an example again over there. Usually when we actually get to know, or when we hear from startup founders कि हमने शुरू तो किया लेकिन हमें आगे का रोड मैप नहीं पता चल रहा है, हमें समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि what is the next best step for us. या we frequently hear कि सर आप बताते हो कि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बहुत सपोर्ट कर रहा है, काफ़ी ग्रांट्स एंड सब्सिडीज अवेलेबल है, बट हाउ डू वी गो अबाउट डूइंग दैट, मतलब देयर इज अ प्रोसेस बिहाइंड इट, बट कैसे करें हमें पता नहीं है. Now, these are exactly the things which an incubator and accelerator, more than an accelerator, in fact, an incubator is expected to deliver. Because let's understand the fact that a startup company is born out of an idea, right? An innovative idea, and that innovative idea could have come from either a gap in the ecosystem, which the founder has identified, and they have created a startup company around that, or they have perhaps they've looked at it in piecemeal basis and curated it together, and that's how their startup is born. So that is what a startup founder is expected to deliver and to work hard on. But all the peripheral work to it, all the ancillary work to it, it is really not expected that a founder is equipped enough to live up to or maybe deliver on each of those parameters. That is where an incubator comes in. That is where an accelerator comes in. So an incubator's role is to ensure that all startup companies have their basics in place. It could be as basic as having their company formations in place, getting them a lot of all. It could probably be office space. It could be government grants and subsidies. It could be to ensure that their investments are managed well, or the government grants which they have got, that is being managed well, and it is not kind of just burned around. The money that they get, the founders that they get from grants and subsidies, is not just burned, but it is put to good use effectively. These are the things which an incubator in an ideal situation should kind of deliver. Similarly, following this, when an accelerator comes in, an accelerator's role is to scale up. So, for any company which has got some early revenue, early traction, and early validation in the ecosystem, that's exactly the spot where an accelerator should step in. An accelerator, besides quite a few things which an incubator is expected to deliver, over and above that, an accelerator is also expected to do some kind of a market making for them, or a business making for them, right? So all sorts of forward integrations, business synergies, collaborations, engagements, alliances, deepening of relationships, neo geographical regions, deepening of market relationships. These are some things. These are the areas which an accelerator is expected to deliver on. And it only gets better when all of these functional responsibilities are also off shouldered and taken on board by the accelerator. And that's exactly what we also do as Marwari Catalyst. We try to make life, if I can say it on a lighter note, we try to make life a little simpler for the founder, and we would want them to focus or continue focusing on their work and their deliverables and their KPIs, and rest all functional responsibilities, all investment related responsibilities, and all ecosystem responsibilities is something which we try to off shoulder from them. So that's a role an accelerator plays. And to top it up, it nothing like it if an accelerator also invests in those companies. So at least the initial investment is taken care of by the accelerator, and that's something which Marvadi Catalyst does. We invest in every single company that we accelerate, and on the flip side is that we only accelerate those companies where we carry the strength and conviction to invest ourselves. That's the thesis that we follow.
So by investing in that startup, you will have your blood and skin into it. So you will put, you will put in your 100% to accelerate it.
Yes.
So are there any regulations or any certifications or any particular courses to become an incubator or accelerator?
There are a lot of registrations which are required, uh, uh, and definitely there is a whole lot of checklist which is required to be fulfilled. But on an individual level, it is the requirement comes in more when it comes to the alternate investment fund. So for anybody to actually be a fund manager, now SEBI has made it mandatory that the individual needs to be a qualified, licensed, and certified fund manager, and that bit of a certification, that bit of an upgrading of skill set continues. So the answer to your question is that both at the company level, at the incubator and the accelerator level, there are registrations and certifications required, as well as individuals who are actually running the show. They also need to be equipped and certified by the necessary regulators.
Great, great. So that will be really useful for someone who wants to be incubator or an accelerator. So, so the next question is: you have laid strategy and alliances at Marwari Catalysts. So, what, according to you, is the need for collaborations and alliances?
So, Vipulji, today is a time of collaboration, right? So frequently we hear about forward integrations, backward integrations, and I should bring it out over here that, for instance, if somebody is a backward integration partner for me, for them I'm a forward one. Obviously, I mean that's how it works. And collaboration, without collaboration, things become a little murky. Things become a little difficult because the outreach is then kind of taking a hit. And today's a time when all of the founders or everybody in the startup ecosystem is only aspiring to grow for sure, right? And that growth is not just limited to domestic growth, it could be cross border as well. With also simultaneously, I should also be saying that with a lot of bandwidth limitations, with a lot of investment limitations, it is at best to collaborate with somebody who is from that genre, who has proven themselves time and again, and maybe then it's a good stepstone to grow together. So collaborations and alliances is definitely something which, and in fact the good part is that today everybody is recipient to it. So whether it is the founders, whether it is maybe mid corporate, large corporate, innovation cells, all of them are looking out for collaborations and alliances. So definitely collaboration is the next big thing, and I personally feel also that without collaboration, it kind of becomes a little difficult and time consuming also. So it is in best interest of everybody that you delegate, give responsibility, take accountability, and move on. That's how you actually grow.
Well answered. So, the follow up question to this is, are collaborations restricted only to domestics one, or do they extend internationally as well?
No, definitely it goes beyond boundaries, and there are specific regions where they are equipped or they specialize in particular sectors. Uh, in fact, the Indian founders or the Indian startup companies also have, thankfully, they've begun to do their homework right now, and they aspire to move to those regions. So it's a collaboration, and in fact, why only Indian companies are wanting to move offshore? There are a lot of offshore companies also who are wanting to enter into India. In fact, I can give you a use case over here. We at Marwari Catalyst, what we've also started practicing is that we've started establishing a lot of corridors. So, for example, I have an Indo-Malaysian corridor where the objective is to take my top line 10% portfolio companies there, get them a lot of grassroots level support, get them infrastructure support, get them government grants and subsidies, get them a lot of technology support not just from Malaysia but from other peripheral regions as well. And similarly, when the Malaysian companies are wanting to enter into India, we play the same role for them. So and it's not a one time or a one off kind of an activity, it's a perpetual one. It continues on an ongoing basis. So collaboration definitely is not just domestically but cross border also.
Yeah, and collaboration is the key to success. You can get a
Collaboration
lot of
is the
synergy.
collaboration. Absolutely.
It's like 1 plus 1 is equal to 11 when you have a collaboration. So that's amazing. So, with your moving on to the next question, with your alternate investment fund, how would you positioning and solutions change?
So, Vipulji, my positioning will not change. We were always an accelerator and we will continue being that, right? We were never an incubator ourselves. We were never an angel network. And I'm going on record in saying that we were never one of these. We were always positioned as an accelerator. We will continue doing that because we truly believe that that is a space where we lack a little bit in India. There are not many players in the accelerator space, and given our ecosystem that we have created at Marwari Catalyst over a period of time, and we've put in a lot of time, effort, and energy in creating that ecosystem. We truly believe that the ecosystem that we have created, we are now equipped to add value or maybe provide a lot of assistance to the startup ecosystem. And I can truly do that the moment I come in as an accelerator. right? So I will not pivot from my position. My position will continue to be an accelerator. Yes, with the AIF coming, with the alternate investment fund coming in now, and I can flaunt this also by saying that we are the first SEBI regulated alternate investment fund from Rajasthan. Till date, Rajasthan has not had any AIF. We are the first one to be domiciled over there, to be headquartered in Rajasthan. So that's
Oh, so that's a great achievement. Congratulations for that.
thank you so much. Even from the fund, our positioning will not change, except for the difference being that our check sizes will change. So, given scenario one till date, where we were looking at signaling check of investment, we will still do that. But now we are equipped in a better way to look at larger check sizes and larger investments also. So, either it could be by way of topping up in our existing portfolio companies, it could be for newer companies, it could be for companies which specifically require accelerator support with investments of larger sizes. Now we are equipped to provide solutions on both parameters, on signaling check as well as larger investments.
That's great. So moving on to the next questions, how have been a firm, how you have been a firm believer that we need to become more of a job giving nation than a job seeking one. So what is your advice to the youth of India?
So I'm not only a firm believer of the first statement, but it has already started being validated also now, right? We have already seen the kind of companies that are growing in India, the kind of offshore companies that are wanting to set their shop straight over here in India or establish themselves here in India. All of these signal to the fact very clearly that India is at a stage today where we are out there ready and equipped to provide employment opportunities or job opportunities. Also, this is supported by the education system that we practice here in India. Thankfully, there's a lot of upskill which is now happening in India. So definitely in terms of improvisation of skills or skill developments, learning and developments, all of these areas have actually come up in a big way in India, and global players are wanting to fall back on our expertise. So all of that would only happen once we are in a better of position to kind of create employment opportunities for them. So it definitely improves from there. So, and thankfully, the belief that I carried all this while is now getting validated and accepted in the ecosystem.
Wow, that
Second question that you asked me, my input to the youth of India, or some bit of an advice to them on two parameters, which actually I could give my inputs. One is most importantly, I would urge the Indian youth to believe in themselves and believe in the concept or the idea that they are carrying or that they are wanting to nurture. Trust me when I'm saying that there are enough and more takers for it. The moment we are out there putting up a good idea or an innovative concept, and you work hard on it, there are a lot of ecosystem players who are out there to support you and across different stages. So let that belief continue, and I think that's so, like it is rightly said, right? So a belief is half battle won. So the moment you believe in your thought or in your concepts, I think you're almost halfway through over there. And secondly, the edge that we are creating vis-a-vis the rest of the players globally is our compliances and our corporate governance. So, my sincere request and submission over here would be that there are no shortcuts. We need to follow the processes. We need to follow the protocols. Let's do that and build it in a better way rather than trying to follow shortcuts. So let's continue doing that.
well said. So there is no shortcut to success, and there is no alternative to hard work. Well said. So last but not the least, your final words, your concluding notes, a final message for our audience.
Uh, my final message to your audience would definitely be that like in the previous question I mentioned that believe in yourself. To answer this question, I would strongly say that believe in the growth story of India also. India is far better than the other countries on the global map when it comes to not just the startup ecosystem, but globally also, the other parameters also. So believe in the growth story of India. There is a lot of support which is being provided. All you need to do is you need to reach out to the right set of people, the right set of players. And secondly, again, I would stress on the fact that let's follow processes. Let's have incubators play their role. And I will urge startup company founders to fall back on incubators and accelerators and extract the best possible expertise from them, their skill set, their experiences, uh, is something which you will not get in theoretical way. It is out of hardcore ground zero experiences, and fall back on them, rely on them, and extract the best possible expertise that you can from them. All you need to do is just reach out to incubators, reach out to accelerators, reach out to Marwari Catalysts, reach out to me, reach out to anybody at MCATs, and we are all there to support the ecosystem.
Yeah, very well said. Focus on your core strength, have a faith in it, and reach out to, Marwari Catalyst or whomsoever you know or trust, and have get their expertise to accelerate your business and focus on your core strengths. So that's the great message. Thank you, Nikhil, for joining us today once again. And yes, audience, again requesting you to follow Nikhil on LinkedIn. I'll also show their company's LinkedIn and Insta ID and other IDs, website IDs in the YouTube description after this session is over on the in the chat box as well as in the description. So you can definitely connect with Nikhil for any help, any guidance. And it was amazing. Nikhil would like to have you again on our expert talk show with some detailed topic related to startups and strategies and processes, and that was amazing. Wishing you the best and hope you keep guiding the way you are guiding the startups. Yeah, please add upon.
I will just want to add, take another 10 seconds of yours and just want to kind of give a statement
Please.
over here. I think Vipul, you are doing a great job by getting these sessions in place and industry experts to come in and talk out of not just theoretical knowledge but out of real life scenarios and real life examples. I think this is much required, and I think you're doing a fab job on that front. If I can take the liberty of telling you that please continue doing this. This is much required in the startup ecosystem. Let's do, and every one of us have different roles to play, but curatively it all adds to the same achievement. So let's contribute in our own possible way, and let's make this much refined and much bigger than what it was till yesterday.
You are right. A teamwork can do the dream work. So that's and this kind of motivations and this kind of appreciation is making this possible, and that's why I'm doing it regularly. This is 132, and we have session lined up for another 2 months. So thanks to you guys for coming up and showing up and accepting my invitation, and uh, thank you so much. That's all I can say. So
Always a
stay
pleasure.
blessed, keep smiling, and hope to see you again on our expert talk show very soon. Thank you for the day.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so audience, this was our 132nd episode, and hope you have enjoyed it. Hope you have got the insight from it, and hope to see you again next Friday with another industry expert who will come and who will share his real life experience. So stay tuned, follow us, follow our experts, and get our help whenever required. And audience, this session was powered by Post Resumes. So you can check the website shown here and you can connect with us if you're looking for any help, any guidance, any mentoring, or if you're a corporate and looking for the best talent solution. for your organization, then do connect with us. We'll be happy to help you. With that note, wishing you all a happy Janmashtami, a happy weekend. This is season of festivals for India, and Monday is a Janmashtami. So सबको जन्माष्टमी की शुभकामनाएं. Greetings of the festival, and enjoy your weekend, enjoy your festival. Stay blessed, keep smiling. Thank you so much once